My name is Casey Jones, and I will be observing a special education inclusion classroom. It is a geometry class taught by Mr. Jonathan Starnes. It is in the general education setting, and today they will be going over trigonometry word problems. I noticed several strategies that Mr. Starnes used throughout his lesson. Some of those strategies included grouping. He liked to group his students where his lower students were grouped with his more advanced students. That way, in case these lower end students were not able to do the assignment before reaching out to the teacher, maybe they could reach out to the students that were more advanced in that topic, ask them for help. That way both students are learning at the same time rather than just going straight to the teacher. I thought this was very helpful, and it helped reteach the more advanced students, while at the same time the students that were a little bit lower in this topic were able to learn from one of their peers. Also, with grouping, there is a special education inclusion teacher in the classroom 3 days a week. Whenever that teacher is in the room, as soon as the lesson has been taught and they break out and they start doing their work, the special education students and also any students that are in the general education that might need some extra help are able to go and get in a small group with the special education teacher. That way they can receive any extra help or accommodations that they might need. Another strategy that Mr. Starnes used was Cornell note-taking. When I asked him about it, he basically just said that it helps keep the students aligned and on task, and it also gets them ready for the assignment that they might have for that day. A lot of times the answers for some of the assignment questions might come from their Cornell notes, so that if they don't take their notes, then they will be behind when it comes to finishing their assignment. Mr. Starnes also used some differentiated instruction. Like I said, he utilizes the inclusion teacher to separate the students into groups with the special education and the general education students. He doesn't necessarily make it to where it's only special education students, so they feel secluded or picked out, but he also includes anybody that might need that extra help. I think this is really good because then the special education students don't feel like they're being treated any differently. The general education, more advanced students are obviously more self-sufficient and they don't need as much help, so these students are allowed to work on their own. He still observes them and makes sure that they're on task, but these students are the ones that typically get their work done and turn it in without any extra push from the teacher. Group lessons are given when students are released to work. The special education students receive their accommodations and their instruction as identified in their IEPs. So basically his differentiated instruction for these special education students comes from whatever is put in their IEP. A lot of these students receive extra time. They receive fill in the blank notes rather than taking all the notes, maybe because they have a deficiency in reading comprehension or maybe in written expression, and they struggle with note-taking. These are some ways that he differentiates his instruction. There's also several ways that Mr. Starnes engages and assesses his engagement. He'll ask the class group questions. He will, as he's given the lesson, he will ask the whole group. He might even call out select students. Maybe he sees students that aren't paying attention as much as others, or maybe students that might be a little behind, and he will ask these students questions throughout the lesson to make sure that they're picking it up and make sure that they're attaining all the information that he's giving. Also, very frequently students are called up to the board. He'll have problems on the board to where everybody can watch, and maybe some students that need some extra help and need to go up to the board so that they can show him that they know what they're doing. So he's calling them up to the board so that they know, and he can double check based on what they do in front of the class. Progress and work is constantly checked in this classroom. Obviously math, there's a lot of assignments and there's a lot of things that have come from the past. So obviously things from algebra are used in geometry and things like that. Progress and work is constantly checked in this class, and that's another way that he uses and assesses engagement.